Hello, this is Monique McDonald. And if you're looking for more one-on-one help with your voice and how to make it magnetic, I want to invite you to check out my coaching packages at themagneticvoice.com. Then click Transform with Monique and book a complimentary connection call. Let's see if we can find a package for you that will fit all of your needs. I'm so grateful for your listening to the Magnetic Voice podcast, and I can't wait to meet you and continue the conversation. Take care. See you soon.
Welcome to The Magnetic Voice, here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel, a show where speakers and singers learn how to be more magnetic and align their voices to the divine within. Today, episode 46, Mindset Mastery with special guest Jeremy McDonald. And now your host, Monique McDonald.
Hello and welcome to the Magnetic Voice podcast. My name is Monique McDonald and I am here with Jeremy McDonald, my brother with the same name. He is our guest today. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, Monique, how are you?
So glad to see you. We are super excited to have Jeremy as our guest today, and we are going to be talking about mindset and all kinds of yummy things. So before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about Jeremy. He's an international best-selling author and speaker who has shared the virtual and live stages with many of the leading speakers of our time, including Lisa Nichols, Joe Vitale, Lisa Williams, and Kevin Harrington. Jeremy has over 25 years of experience as a public speaker, coach, and energetic healer. Jeremy has been able to help many people find their potential by aligning with their souls. Welcome to the show, Jeremy. We are so excited to have you here.
Well, thank you, Monique. I'm excited to be here. And what a great introduction. That was great. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. So let's get right into the nitty-gritty. This is a phrase that is thrown around in our lives right now over and over and over again. But what is mindset mastery to you, Jeremy?
So it's interesting you should say that because I just put this post on social media the other day, and mindset mastery is facing all aspects of yourself and honestly, in a way, training your thoughts. Much like we do with everything else, we go to college to train in our professions and our careers, and we go to the gym to train our muscles to be stronger. We also want to train our mind, and that journey started with me probably over 20 years ago when I started reading about emotional intelligence. And so one of the things that's very interesting is that you have to start looking at your emotions and how you respond to things and your triggers, because when you can look at them and you become proactive as opposed to reactive, then you're going to start changing how you approach the world and how you see the world, as opposed to the world happening to you. You're happening with the world, and I guess, how do I say it? Your partnership with experiences that are going on in your life, and that changes things drastically for you. And I'm sure we can all relate to
I love how you put that, your partnership with your life experiences. Tell us a little bit more about that, because I happen to agree with that. It's a very unusual way of coding the world and what happens to us. So I love that. Talk a little more about that.
Well, let me just start by talking about this post I put up the other day, and I'm getting a lot of interesting reactions to it. Not bad, but just interesting. And do you guys remember the old song? And I can't remember who sang it. Hello, Darkness, My Friend. Do you remember that? I think it was Simon
Hello,
Garfunkel.
Darkness, my old friend.
Yes, yeah.
Who was that? Paul Simon.
Paul Simon. Yeah. So the whole point of what I saw in that is that that's facing that shadow side of yourself, that part of yourself that you look in the mirror and say, hey, I don't feel that's the imposter syndrome. Like I'm not good enough, or I'm not attractive enough, or I'm not going to be what I think. And I've met people that were models for like Calvin Klein and,
Mm,
that we would consider very attractive and they think that they're not, or I've met people that had beautiful voices and they think that they're horrible singers and,
mhm.
artists that can't stand their art. And so it just makes you start to look and think, well, wait a second. Why not face that and say, why do you think that? Who told you to judge your stuff or your talent? And that's because there's somewhere inside of them, and it has nothing to do with their art, their voice, or anything internally inside of them. They've been shown or programmed, or they've been told, they've been given these stories being humble is to put yourself down or to not make yourself look good. And I hate to say it, we can stand up and say, hey, look at you. We can be like we're at an award show and say, thank you for all the accomplishments that I've done. And I would like to thank the Academy so, for, having this air in my lungs and having a blessed life and having a great life. And why not? Why not? You don't have to. That's not arrogance. Arrogance would be putting another person down and never listening and never growing and never developing yourself and thinking that you're all that. That's a difference.
I
But
just love this. And going back to this partnering our life experiences, I think I absolutely agree with you that something happens. We have an experience in our life where someone tells us we're there shining brightly and being our most magnificent selves. And someone says something like, go to your room and be quiet. And in that moment, we make meaning of that and we make life decisions based on that show up as these limiting thoughts or
mhm,
beliefs.
yeah,
And they start to run, they go underground and become that darkness, right? That's running us.
mhm,
And what I love about the way you put it, partnering our life experiences, it helps us understand that we are partners with our life experience and we decide what meaning we're going to make.
mhm,
And I think that is like this beautiful thing. The first time I realized someone actually said, you get to decide what you think. I said, what? It's the most simple divine gift we've been given.
mhm,
And yet most of us feel victim to our circumstances, feel victim to our thoughts, feel
mhm,
victim to our life experiences
yeah,
because we don't realize we get to make meaning of it. We get to decide what we think.
yeah. Yeah, and that really, my first thought of this, I don't know if you've ever read or heard of the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen
Sure.
Covey. And when he talks about the story of Viktor Frankl, I don't know if you remember that
Mm.
story. And, when you think about Viktor Frankl and what he went through, and just for everybody that hasn't watched, he was a Jewish psychologist that lived in Nazi Germany. Um, and so I won't go into all the details because it can be pretty graphic. But it's basically he basically stated that you have the power to choose your own attitude, and no matter what anybody does to you, nobody can take that freedom away from you. And so I started thinking, I remember when I first heard that story, I was about 22 years old, and I thought the whole world was working against me, that everything was a problem, and everybody was jerks to me, and I
Hmm.
didn't like people referring to me as son because I was an adult now, and so all this stuff that you as you're younger, you kind of have a little chip on your shoulder a little bit. And then I started thinking, well, wait a second. If I have the power to choose my attitude, then nobody can affect my attitude. And so I have a choice. And so, when we were kids, our parents told us how to be and how to act. And then when we get older, we get to choose.
That's
And
right.
even my mother even said that. She goes, when you were younger, I made rules for you and stuff like that because I wanted to protect you because you were a kid. But now that you're an adult, you get to choose what you want.
Yes.
And so that's one things that we can rise up out of our circumstances and choose whatever life we want. And incidentally, that changes throughout our life. I mean,
I love that. That's so true. Based on where we are on the journey. And I love that we're talking about mastering our thoughts and how mastering our thoughts really help to change our lives. It seems so simple. Oh, so if I think I'm a millionaire, I will be a millionaire. It's not quite that simple. But if you think I'm never going to make any money, that will be true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so talk to us a little bit about that shading of a difference, right? The thought has to be added to in order to make it manifest, right?
Well, there's two things. One of the things you have to you have to be grounded in the fact that we live here on a planet. And then, yeah, there's nothing wrong with having our head up in the clouds a little bit and dreaming. That's two sides of the brain, right? Left and right hemisphere.
Right.
And so, but the truth is we have to pay our rent or mortgage. We have to pay our electric bill. We have to pay our car payment. We have to pay for all that kind of stuff. And I'm down with what the hippies lived like in the 60s. And I probably would have been like that if I would have been around at that time. But I would also have been one of those people that grew up and started with the BMWs and everything else because that was fun when we were younger, right? And
Right.
So, but as far as your question about, I can't think myself into being a millionaire. It's like the movie The Secret came out, and it was funny because everybody was like, I'm just going to think positive thoughts and I'm going to have a Corvette or a Ferrari or $1 million. Well, there's a couple things that come into this. One, you have to put in the work, and not to say that you couldn't be a millionaire, but there's a lot of work and investment into that time. My father's pursued that his entire life, and he's finally in his 60s hit that. But did
Yay,
it just
Dad, by the way.
Yeah, congratulations for him. But did that miraculously appear in his life? And incidentally, just so I throw this out there, because I got criticized for this recently, he does not give me any money. Some people brought that up. But the point is that there's a couple principles. One, action. The thought is there. The emotions, yes, they're there. Then you have to do action. And then it can potentially, through the steps, manifest into our world. But then you have to ask yourself, is that truly what you want? What is it you want? And because you have to ask people the question. In my coaching practice, they will say, I want to have all this. I want to have all this money. I'm like, is that really what you want? Or do you want to have freedom? Do you want to have freedom to choose what will make you happy? And do the things that you love. And so, and that's really what the people, when they start saying that kind of stuff, and, like, look at people that win the lottery. They win, millions of dollars in the lottery, and then they spend it in a couple of years. And then there's people that have earned the money, and then they hold on to it. Why? Because they've learned to manage that money. They've put in the work to learn how to grow it, make it happen. Like a doctor doesn't become a doctor overnight.
Just by thinking it, making it so.
Yeah. Monique, you're a singer. I mean, so I'm sure you had natural talent, but there was training that you had to do in order to do what you did. And so, I started off as a corporate trainer, and I was a very shy kid. And being the corporate trainer, and I was a musician too, and got to perform with John Cicada, and nobody even knows who that is probably anymore. But that was back in 1994.
Dave does, our producer does.
And so, I got to perform with him and stuff like that. But I had to work at that, right? And then the music and the corporate training gave me the confidence it takes to be able to do what I do now. And then several mentors that said, you need to work on those ums. And you need and those things. I've had a radio show for 11 years. I used to have a producer, and she would literally hold up a sign that said
That's so funny. Jeremy, speaking of your online show, which is called the Storytelling Alchemist show that airs on the Los Angeles Tribune's network, talk to us a little bit about how storytelling fits into mindset mastery.
That's a good question. And it basically comes down to this. We have an inner story that's playing in our mind. That's the one that looks in the mirror and says, I'm not good enough for this. And I'm not smart enough for this. And so when you change that inner story, then the reason why the alchemy word is there is because you change your thoughts from lead into gold, into the golden state of mind.
Love that.
And so I used to speak on these stages with all these doctors and PhDs and people, CEOs of companies, and here I was a training manager, a sales training manager, and in my mind the imposter syndrome would kick in, but I still got up there and I would talk about it. I was like, I'm suffering from imposter syndrome right now. Here's what it is, and here's how you can overcome it. Because you have to be authentic and vulnerable on the spot and tell people, because guess what? All those PhDs and doctors, they're having the same thoughts. And I literally have had doctors be my clients, and I'm like, so you mean all that education and that MD or PhD at the end of your name, and you still don't think you're smart? What's it going to take? So
true.
because it's
And
their mind.
because it's, again, I always feel like it comes back to a life experience somewhere along the line where somebody said something about
Yeah.
not being smart enough, or if I were only smarter, maybe I could have stopped this from happening.
Yeah.
And then that puts into their heart the desire, right, to get more education, to become a doctor, become a lawyer. And then they get there, they put in all the work, and then realize it's still there.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
I love this idea of these inner stories that are running us, and the alchemy of changing those stories that make us feel like lead inside. And we are natural born storytellers. That's really who we are. And I get this a lot with my clients, Jeremy. Do you get this too? My story isn't good enough. I don't have cancer. I didn't make a comeback from cancer. Not to belittle that, but there is this idea that if it isn't a dramatic comeback story, it's not good enough.
People are always measuring themselves and
That's
comparing themselves to other people. I used to do this fun little exercise called window panes in class, and I'd have them draw a window pane, and in their window pane they had to write their name, their full name, including their middle name, because people would cringe at that. And and then they had to draw one embarrassing moment. It was okay if they did stick figures, and they had to write one thing they're proud of. So you'd have these people with kids, and they'd be like, I have nothing that I'm proud of. So wait a second. I'd be like, I'd stop for a second. You're a parent, right? And they'd be like, yeah, but that's just being a parent. And I would just sit there a little. I have these facial expressions, not gonna lie, that I'd just be a little dumbfounded, and I'd say to them, "So I don't have children," and I thought that's something to be really proud of. That's hard work, and to shape a young mind into being a part of our community and being a contributing part of our community, you have a lot to feel proud of. And they would just lower their head. You can always tell. They'll lower their head, they'll look down, and you can just tell by their body dynamics that they're saying, I don't really think, and they're ashamed of themselves. They feel like there's and that's because inside of themselves, there's something in them that people have this timeline that they have to get things done with.
That's right.
And I have a friend that is in he's 29, and he has this goal that he has to have a house, he has to be married, he has to have his college and his career all by the time he's 30. And I'm like, I hate to break it to you. when you're 30s and in your 40s, a lot of things are going to change. So because you could have been married when you're 22 and be divorced by the time that you're 38. I mean, and we change our careers sometimes 2 and 3 times in our lifetime.
That's right.
The life is not a timeline, and we're not in a race here. So, what I think success is happiness, fulfillment by the end of the day, that we're growing and learning, and that we're contributing to society and leaving a legacy behind where people can remember you and say, think fondly of you and smile. And even if that doesn't happen, you can enjoy your life. So,
I really love that. And it's so important because I really agree with you that we all have these stories that are running us, these inner stories that we have chosen to be our story. And again, just like you get to choose what you think, you get to rewrite your story anytime you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think of it as the inner story, which is that original decision that was made that sort of, well, for me, I can be as successful as I can be, but it will never be as good as my mother, for example. That was one of my stories, because she was my hero. And I thought that no matter what I did, it would never be, I wouldn't be as good as my mom. And then she passed away. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, now I have to write a new story because I have to be better than dead. I'm sorry. I know that's disrespectful on some level, but I have to make another story now. And so now the story is, it's not that I have to be as good as my mother, but I had the gift of my mother. I had the gift of this amazing woman in my life. So now I get to be a part of that legacy and be that gift for others, right? So I had to write a new story. And I think that's something that when we're working on mindset, we have to remember that we don't have to wait for somebody to die to write a new story. We have that choice right here, right now. Right, Jeremy?
Yeah. Yeah. Can I just throw this out there too? Like, this is some advice that somebody gave me many years ago. I was sitting in I was temporarily promoted into this position at work. It was just to basically see how Jeremy would do in this position. So I was in a meeting with our site vice president, and I was stuttering and all shy and everything like that. Because why? In my mind, I'm thinking, wait a second, this guy has so much more than me, and da 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 da, and all that kind of stuff. And then he looked at me and he said, listen, if we're going to work together, you're going to have to actually be able to talk. and so and then having a podcast, you meet all kinds of people. And I had a guy named Dr. Amit Goswami on my show many years ago, and he was in a movie called What the Bleep Do We Know? And some people might
I
not know
love
what
that
that
movie.
is, but I messed up his name 3 times in the show because I was starstruck. And it's one of those things, because that movie changed my life in a lot of ways. And I just happened to share the same publicist as him. So I literally, I would not leave her alone until he got him on my show. And so, but the truth is if we don't change their mindset, we won't take those opportunities that it takes to grow our world and move onto our new depths of who we are. I have another acquaintance of mine. He's won an Academy Award twice, one for camera work on Hamilton, and I'm really good friends with his wife, and they live up in your area in New York. And imagine if I would have been that same kid in that office, and I would have just thought. And so, for those that are out there listening, think about the fact that they're just people. They put their pants on just like us. They worry just like us. They have problems, and maybe they're at a place where they're not worrying about bills anymore, but they're worrying about something else. and it's one of those things, because they're human beings, and the peptides or the emotions in our body still produce just like we do, and they cry and they have all that. So if you put yourself at a lower level, and I'm putting my hands up like people can see me on camera, and then you're not going to have connections with people, and you're not going to enjoy your life.
That's right. That's right. I remember reading that Meryl Streep suffers from imposter syndrome, and she's the greatest, has won the most Academy Awards of anybody in the universe, I think. And it brings this whole idea of confidence and mindset mastery, and bringing ourselves into moments that terrify us, right? Into perspective. What I love about knowing that about Meryl Streep, and what kind of artist she is, and what kinds of risks she takes as an artist, It reminds us that we are always bumping up against that edge of our comfort level, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And for me, that's what mindset mastery is for. Why are we
Yeah.
mastering our mindset? So that we can grow past those limits that we've set for ourselves.
Yeah. And I use my imposter syndrome and my self doubt as a way to teach others. Because if I
Yes.
can work through it, if I can process it, if I can look at it and I'm say, then all of you can do it too.
Mm.
And so to me, it's a gift in a sense. And because of that, now I don't look at it as problems. I get excited when something surfaces. I'm like, oh, cool. Now we get to look at something else.
Yes. Oh,
and
cool. That means I'm growing, right? Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. I love that.
yeah,
And going back to, training as an opera singer specifically, I mean, as a singer in general, but specifically in classical music, there is this whole thing about you practice and you practice and you practice. And when you think you're ready, you practice some more.
mhm,
But when it comes right down to that moment, it's about letting go of it all and just showing up
mhm.
and being you, right?
And I think that's
And
the lesson.
the idea, right? And the idea of, for me, what was really important was that we are constantly growing and we're constantly improving. And that's what we do as human beings, right? We grow and, and, and yet great technique masks technique. So the
Mhm,
idea is you work really hard at whatever is your chosen profession. You work at, right now we're talking about public speaking and mindset mastery and all the ways that we relate to people and show up in our lives and in our work. And then when the moment comes, it's all about just being who you are and
mhm,
making that connection.
mhm.
It's not
And
about
people,
perfection, right?
yeah, and there's a book out there by a guy, I think it's Topher Morrison. It says, "Stop striving for perfection and strive for excellence."
Yeah.
And so, and by the way, for all those that are out there, everybody has goals or dreams. And the question is, are you holding yourself back because you don't think you're enough? And I hate to tell you those, all the people you look up to that are successful, they're thinking the same things. And there's a guy out there that started, and now I'm going to, Jeff Hoffman. He started Priceline, and I got the opportunity to actually speak with him on a virtual summit. And then I was doing a consulting job for Citibank, and then he was doing a speech for them too. And I was hearing about his story about how he started Priceline. He just started because he wanted to travel and
I
he
love
wanted to
it.
get discounts on traveling. And then he built this company into Priceline. And the guy is absolutely incredible because hey, you work on something because it's your passion
Right.
and you enjoy it and you grow from that. And there's a journey. I call it like lily pads. You jump from one lily pad to the next, or on the
I
yellow
love
brick
that.
road, follow the. And so find a way and take one step. That's all you have to do is take one step and then take another step and then take another step. And you're going to fight through all the emotions and all the imposter syndrome and all that other kind of stuff. But you're going to look back 10 years and you're going to be like, wow, I actually did that. That's
That's
amazing.
amazing. Well,
Yeah.
Jeremy, we're so happy that you stopped by to say hello to us. Where can people find out more? I know that you have a website and you have a way that people can get in touch with you.
Yeah. So the best place to find me is at the storytellingalchemist.com. And that's my website that has links to my social media. You can join my email group. You can book a free 15-minute session with me. And then there's a copy. You can buy my book there called Peace Be Still. And so and then definitely connect with me on social media because I just like connecting with people. So
That's awesome. And final question. What is a magnetic voice to you?
hmm, somebody that speaks from the heart, that lives from the heart, and works and operates from the heart. Because if they do that, people are going to naturally want to be around them, and they're going to naturally influence other people just by their own actions.
Thank you so much for sharing space with us today.
Absolutely.
Good luck with all of your endeavors. All right, let's go into a meditation and take this all with us. All right, so let's take our journey between the worlds by taking a deep centering breath, releasing and letting go of anything before this now moment. We breathe as deeply as is comfortable for us, and we allow our diaphragms to release as we inhale, watching our bellies fall back towards the spine as we exhale. When we breathe in this way, we let our psyche and our soul know that we are safe. We are in this now moment where all is well. And as we continue to breathe and know the truth of this moment together, we remind ourselves that we get to choose our thoughts. We get to decide what we want to think. What shall we think to create the state of mind that we want to be in? When life happens, we remind ourselves that we are partners with our life experience. We are not victims to it. When life happens, we get to choose how we respond. As soon as we notice, what emotion am I feeling? Where do I feel it in my body? And allow the breath to take over and bring us back to the divine within. Bring us back to the love in our hearts. Bring us back to the knowledge and understanding of who we are and whose we are. There are so many things happening in our world right now that we can jump into response after response after response, trying to keep up with it all. And all it takes is one moment of deep breathing, of reminding ourselves that we decide who we are and how we will respond. We have the choice to go straight into our hearts and choose love. When we see things that are tragic going on around us, breathe and know the truth that God is at work within us now and within all of our experiences, within the experiences that the world is having. And we can connect to that divine, all-knowing love that enfolds us, that blesses us, that keeps us safe, even if we step out of our comfort zone. And so today we choose to think thoughts that connect us to the divine within and the divine within each and every soul on this earth. And for this choice, this divine choice for love, we are truly grateful. And we say, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. With joy and love in our hearts, we say thank you. And we let it be.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Magnetic Voice here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Magnetic Voice is copyright 2022 Monique McDonald, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Kropf and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.